And welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. The Farm Rapid Fire is brought to you by Corteva Biologicals. And speaking of Corteva, we're joined right now by Jason Smith. He is the marketing manager for herbicides based out of Saskatchewan. Jason, how's it going?
Very good, Sean. Yourself?
Pretty good. Where are you at in Saskatchewan?
So I live in Saskatoon.
A lot of snow cover there?
It's waned a little bit. I mean, it was, November was a pretty snowy month, so it was looking like it was going to be a long winter, but things have cooled down a little bit on the snow front and literally on the temperature front here in the last little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And we're kind of at that point in the year where, we're early February, but we
yep,
know that the growing season is pretty close. And when we talk to the farmers here today, they're in those last stages of planning, making sure they got as much lined up as possible. One of the things that I think about that has really changed is herbicides used to be that kind of you rolled into the local retail and said, okay, I've got these weeds, here's what I need to spray. That's really kind of changed. You got to game plan a little bit more than that at this point.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, some of that came out of COVID where supply was much more of a consideration. And I think we saw more of a shift towards, customers and retailers really starting to try and be deliberate and plan ahead as to what the herbicide choice for the field was going to be. The other thing is that from a local retail standpoint, shed space tends to be a limiting factor, and they want to be able to plan what they need to bring in, what their customers are going to use, so that they have it on hand when the customer needs it, and not be trying to scramble around trying to find something that they need this afternoon, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that also has changed is with herbicide resistance, there's a little bit more planning ahead in terms of the groups
Sure. Yep.
as well. I think that's kind of a factor. I don't know.
Yep.
Do
Yeah.
you agree with that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. I mean, we've just recently launched a product that I would say that group consideration has come in very much so more than probably we've seen in the past. Certainly on broadleaf herbicides, which is a big chunk of my portfolio. Um, it's really I would say it's probably been driven largely by kochia, right? Like kochia has turned into, probably for lack of a better term, Western Canada's kind of version of water hemp, where it's rapidly developed multiple resistance or resistant to multiple modes of action. And it seems to be driving a lot of conversations when I'm having conversations with customers. Now, not something I get to do as frequently as I'd like, but certainly when that occasion does arise, that is one of the significant considerations.
Yeah, you could say water hemp. You could say it's our version of Palmer amaranth. Now, thank
Sure,
goodness it doesn't have all of the characteristics of Palmer amaranth. But it used to be just kind of like a southern Saskatchewan, southern Alberta problem. But
you bet.
it is really gained in acres, right?
Yeah,
This is an adapt like now. Longtime listeners of the radio show know I have always moaned and complained about the fact that my hay fever hates kochia. I'm very allergic to it, so I have always had a terrible hate for this weed. But with the resistance that has been developed and its geographical spread, boy, you sure hear a lot more people talking about kochia than you used to.
yeah. I mean, I would look at, so we've got TM he lives in Tisdale, but kind of covers that Melfort Tisdale country.
Yep.
And typically, when you think of Melfort or Tisdale, Saskatchewan, you think deep black soil, not a kochia plant to be seen. And kochia is an up and comer there, right? Like it's always really been in the black soil zones, kind of spread along the 16 highway. But in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really crept or marched quite a ways north.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of anxiety around it, right?
Yeah.
Some of it is that it's a new weed, and it's one that if you miss tends to stick out, right? Like kochia is not a small plant, and anything that survives a herbicide application is certainly quite noticeable in the field.
Yeah, good point. So, well, let's take the opportunity. What do you got in the portfolio to take care of kochia then?
Well, we've got a lot in the portfolio to take care of kochia. I think that's probably been Corteva's bread and butter for a lot of years. I would look at products like, we started with Attain way back when, but certainly a product like Octane has been very, very sharp
Yeah.
for kochia control, been a mainstay in Western Canada for a lot of years. And one that we launched coming up on 2 years ago now is a product called On Deck. And it was really a game changer in the sense that it gives us modes of action that didn't really play in the brown soil zones, and it's a 27 and 6 combination that doesn't have any rotational restrictions. So you can get in there, you get that control of kochia and that whole kind of smorgasbord of other broadleaf weeds that a customer has. And you have that rotational flexibility that's so important to the brown soil zone farmers,
Yeah.
right?
Octane, also the best channel in Sirius.
Yeah,
So there's
point.
that.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah,
Are you more of a country highway kind of guy? Is that where you are?
I don't really have serious. I'm not a road warrior like I used to be, right? So
Yeah.
back when I was a TM and putting on 3 to 5 hours of windshield time a day, Sirius made more sense now that I'm lucky to put 3 to 5 hours of windshield time on a month. I'm more of a podcast Spotify guy.
Yeah.
Listen to a lot of sports talk radio, and then a little bit of country. But yeah, it's more podcasts and talk radio than anything these days.
Well, wait a minute here for a second. You don't have to be in your vehicle to listen to Sirius. You can listen to shows like Real Ag Radio and Rural Radio 147 from your laptop in your office now that you're an office jockey, Jason.
Seriously,
You can. Yeah. They got
I
a
didn't.
you can log into the website. They also got an app on the phone. So like, yeah, we got some work to do here, but
Well,
you can.
clearly, I'm a bit of a luddite when it comes to technology sometimes. So in my mind, the only way that one can listen to satellite radio is in the vehicle listening to satellite radio.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind, Sean. But
Well, you can, and listen,
that,
you can also download the Real Ag Radio podcast too. There's always that opportunity as well for you.
right, absolutely. And I listen to a lot of those. Yeah, but that's a good raise. Certainly, when I'm in the office, that would be a good break for the afternoon to spend some time listening to Real Ag Radio. So
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. There you go. You and the rest of the audience that is out there. Hey, have yourself a great spring. It's great to chat with you again, and I'm sure we'll see you at some point during the growing season here.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.